Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because tomorrow, at exactly 11:59 p.m., the world as you know it will cease to exist for 72 hours. While everyone is toasting and watching fireworks, an invisible phenomenon will strike your home's most vital resource, water. If you live in one of the four nations I'm about to reveal, the liquid running through your pipes will no longer be the same. It will become a conductor of frequencies you don't want inside your body. There is a seal, something the ancients kept under lock and key, that you must apply to your water supply before the first minute of absolute darkness begins. If you ignore this warning, what happens during the second night will be irreversible. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to show you about the state of water on the third day will forever change everything you think you know about spiritual survival. To understand why your home's water is the primary target of this event, we must stop viewing it as a mere inanimate liquid. Modern science, at its deepest levels, has begun to rediscover what the ancients already knew. Water has memory. Water is a liquid crystal that stores and transmits information. If air is the messenger of sounds, water is the guardian of frequencies. And tomorrow, when the clock strikes midnight, Earth's atmosphere will be bombarded by a purifying frequency that will collapse electrical grids, but which will be stored directly in the molecules of any water that has not been sealed. I know your biggest question right now is my country on the danger list? I won't postpone it. The first of these four marked nations, the territory where water will undergo the most drastic transformation due to its magnetic position and spiritual history, is Mexico. From the Yucatan Peninsula to the mountains of Sonora, water in Mexico will begin to vibrate at a different frequency minutes before the blackout. If you are in Mexico, the water you have in tanks, cisterns, or open bottles will become a receiver of the collective anguish that will flood the streets. That's why the first step of the protocol is source isolation. It's not enough to have stored water. The water must be under a vacuum seal. But why Mexico first? Because it is a land of portals. The water there is connected to underground veins that pulse with the Earth's energy. During the 3 days of darkness, that connection will be overloaded. If the water in your home isn't protected by the seal of the Salt Cross, that energy won't be filtered, and consuming it or even just touching it will put your body in a state of deep disharmony, weakening your spiritual immune system just when you need to be most vigilant. In part 1, I told you about a secret seal, and here's the first detail. The salt must be pure, preferably sea salt, and it must be placed at the 4 cardinal points of your main water reservoir before sunset tomorrow. Don't think that if you're not in Mexico, you're safe. The other 3 nations, which I'll reveal below, are linked by a network of invisible arteries. If you live in the southern part of the continent or in the Old World, listen carefully, because the second nation is the vibrant heart of South America, and its water is the purest, but also the most vulnerable to this midnight distortion. Many will ask, is this only for drinking water? The answer is no. It's for all the water that comes into contact with the air in your home. In my final preparation spiritual guide, which I've linked to in the first pinned comment, I explain the exact science of how salt neutralizes water's negative memory and how you can create water of light that not only keeps you hydrated, but also acts as medicine for the soul during the 72 hours of silence. This isn't empty mysticism. It's biological defense applied to prophecy. Stay with me, because now we're going to cross the spiritual border into the second nation, and I'm going to reveal to you the phenomenon of the blue light that will appear inside poorly sealed water containers. If you see this glow, under no circumstances should you go near it. If you thought the danger was only the absence of light, you're about to discover the most disturbing truth of the 3 days of darkness. When the veil is torn tomorrow at midnight, water that hasn't been protected by the seal of the Salt Cross will begin to manifest a physical phenomenon that science cannot explain. the Mercury Glow. You'll notice that, in the dim light of your home, open or poorly sealed containers of water will begin to emit a pale phosphorescence, a metallic blue that seems vibrant. Don't be fooled by its beauty. That glow is a sign that the water has been ionized by the frequencies of the abyss that will flood the atmosphere. Drinking that water, or even washing your face with it, is allowing the static electricity of purification to enter your nervous system, clouding your judgment and opening the door to paralyzing panic. It is time to reveal the second nation marked in this final warning. If the first seal was Mexico, the second pillar of this warning is Colombia, the nation of the Sacred Heart, the land where water flows with immense spiritual force from the Andes to its two oceans, will be subjected to an unprecedented test. In Colombia, due to the mineral composition of its soils, the phenomenon of the mercury glow in the water will be especially intense. If you are in Bogotá, Medellín, Cali, or on the coasts, you should know that water stored in plastic or fiberglass tanks is the most likely to absorb this energy. The molecular structure of Colombian water will resonate with the thunder coming from the sky, and if you do not apply the seal of crystallization before 11:59 p.m., that water will become heavy, unable to quench thirst, and charged with a vibration of despair. But be aware, because the protocol to prevent this in Colombia and other nations requires an additional element: light isolation. Salt alone isn't enough. The water containers must be covered with a dark cloth or aluminum foil. Light, even from candles you'll light during the blackout, shouldn't touch the water directly while the external purification process is at its peak. Water is a mirror, and if it reflects the light of a world in turmoil, it will absorb that same turmoil. Many of you are feeling a pressure in your chest as you listen to this. That is your spirit acknowledging the truth. We are less than 30 hours away from the event. In my final preparation spiritual guide, which you can find in the first pinned comment, I have included the exact diagram of how to cover your water supplies and the liquid shielding prayer that you should recite while placing the salt. This is not the time to doubt. Water is what will sustain you when the sun sets, but only if that water remains pure under divine protection. Now, prepare yourself, because the third nation is not on this continent. We must look to the east, to the land that connects ancient history with the present, where the water from wells and ancient springs will send a signal that will shake even the most skeptical. We are going to talk about the nation that holds the keys to the Mediterranean and the mystery of the bitter sap. As the clock ticks toward December 31st, the tension is not only felt in the Americas. Water, as a universal conductor, is transmitting the warning signal through the ocean depths to the continent where faith and history are inextricably intertwined. The third marked nation, the land that will feel the impact of the torn veil on its springs and aqueducts, is Spain. The land of mystics, the country that holds within its soil the memory of centuries of devotion, will see its most precious resource become the stage for a phenomenon known in ancient prophecies as the bitter sap. In Spain, from the squares of Madrid to the coasts of Andalusia, water that has not been properly sealed according to the Salt Cross Protocol will undergo a chemical and spiritual transmutation. It will not only manifest the mercury-like glow mentioned earlier, but its taste will change drastically. It will become bitter like wormwood, indicating that the particles of darkness that purify the atmosphere have managed to penetrate the liquid structure. If you are in Spain, listen carefully. It is not just a change in taste. It is a sign that the water has lost its life-giving capacity and has become a vehicle for the frequency of weeping. But heaven, in its infinite mercy, has given us an additional tool for this land. In Spain, due to the vibration of the soil, the seal must be reinforced with the shield of the word. Sure, before covering your containers with dark cloth or aluminum foil, you must write the word Pax, peace, on the outside of the container or on a piece of paper placed underneath it. This vibrational code, combined with the seal of salt, will create a magnetic field that will prevent the bitterness of purification from touching your family's water. It is a secret that ancient monks kept for times of great tribulation, and today it is revealed to you, so that your home may be an oasis in the midst of the desert that will be tomorrow's midnight. Many in Spain wonder if bottled water from supermarkets is safe. The answer may surprise you. Plastic is a weak conductor of spiritual protection. If you have water in plastic bottles, you should transfer it to glass or ceramic containers, or seal the bottles much more thoroughly. In my spiritual guide to final preparation, available in the first pinned comment, I explain how to exorcise water stored in plastic and how to transform a simple glass of water into a shield of protection for your children. We are about to reveal the fourth nation, the northern power that sustains the world's economic system and whose water supply collapse will be the definitive sign that humanity's time has changed. Prepare yourself, because what happens to water in the fourth seal is what will ultimately decide who will be able to stand through the third night. We have journeyed through the fervor of Mexico, the vibrancy of Colombia, and the history of Spain, but the circle of purification cannot close without the pillar that holds up the structure of the modern world. The fourth and final marked nation, the territory where water will give the most terrifying sign of all this December 31st, is the United States. The northern power, the land that has turned water into an industrialized commodity, will face a phenomenon that ancient seers called the water of fire. In the United States, from major metropolitan areas like New York and Los Angeles to the Central Plains, water that is not spiritually sealed under the Salt Cross Protocol will experience an inexplicable thermal reaction. To the touch, the water will feel boiling, even though its physical temperature hasn't changed. It's a spiritual burn. If you try to drink it without the seal, you'll feel a dry fire in your throat that no amount of liquid can extinguish. This happens because in the United States, the saturation of electromagnetic waves and satellite signals is so high that when the electrical grid collapses, a frequency rebound effect occurs, which the water will instantly absorb if it lacks the aluminum insulation and the sacred seal. If you live in the United States, listen with extreme urgency. Your reliance on electric purification systems and modern filters will be your greatest weakness tomorrow at midnight. These systems will cease to function, and the water trapped in the pipes of buildings and homes will be the first to be contaminated by the vibrations of the collapse. Therefore, the seal in the United States must be twofold. Not only must you place salt in the reservoir, but you must also trace a cross of blessed oil at the main water inlet of your home. This is the seal of interception, and it is the only thing that will prevent the water of fire from entering your private plumbing system. Many Americans, accustomed to logic and technology, will scoff at this warning until they see their tap water begin to emit a cold steam and a sulfurous odor minutes before the blackout. By then, it will be too late to find the sealing material. You, who are watching this, have the advantage of the warning. In my spiritual guide to final preparation, linked in the first pinned comment, I've included the special chapter, Survival in the Power Outage, where I detail how to protect water in high-tech urban environments and how to identify the exact moment when the water is safe to drink again after the 3-day blackout. Now that you know the four nations, Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, the mystery enters its darkest phase. In the next part, we will reveal the second night protocol, the moment when the water inside your house will begin to speak. Yes, you heard right. The water will emit sounds that will test your sanity, and if you don't know how to interpret that language, you could make the mistake of opening your door to what shouldn't enter. If you managed to overcome the initial impact of the darkness in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, or the United States, and if you had the wisdom to place the seal of the salt cross and the aluminum insulation, you will enter the most critical phase of the event. Midnight of the second night. At this point, the outside silence will be so absolute that your senses will be heightened to unprecedented levels. This is when you will begin to hear the song of the water. It won't be an ordinary drip. The water you've stored, even if sealed, will begin to emit an acoustic frequency that your brain will interpret as whispers or, worse, as the voices of loved ones calling for help from outside your door. This is the phenomenon of shadow resonance. In these 4 nations, water acts as an amplifier of energy trapped in the atmosphere. If you're not spiritually prepared, you'll feel a compulsive need to uncover your containers to release the sound, or even to leave your home thinking someone desperately needs a glass of water. You must understand this. On the second night, the water is waging a battle. The salt seal you placed is filtering out those voices, preventing the frequency of deception from materializing in your home. If you open the vessel or allow your fear to connect with the sound of the water, the seal will break. In my final preparation spiritual guide, available in the first pinned comment, I have dedicated an entire section to the psychology of silence, where I teach you the specific prayer to deafen your spiritual ears to the song of the water and keep the peace of your home intact. In the United States and Spain, this phenomenon will be more audible, almost like old-fashioned radio interference. In Mexico and Colombia, due to the humidity, the water might even form small vapor formations on the sealed containers. Under no circumstances should you touch this vapor. It is the residue of the purification process being expelled by the force of the seal. Keep your candles lit, do not look toward the windows, and above all, do not respond to any voices that seem to be coming from your water supply. The second night is the test of faith. If the water remains sealed, it will reveal its secret to you on the third day, transmutation into the elixir of life. But before we get to that, we must discuss what will happen to the water you left outside your home, in the streets and public fountains. That water will become a gateway for the nameless. While you remain in the refuge of your home in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, or the United States, protected by the seal of the Salt Cross, the outside world will have transformed into a forbidden landscape. During the second and third nights, the water left exposed in fountains, pools, rain puddles, or even open public water supplies will undergo the final transmutation into what ancient grimoires called the Black Mirrors. You must understand that without the protection of faith and the botanical and saline sealing, water loses its ability to reflect the light of the sky and begins to reflect the abyss. If someone were to make the fatal mistake of looking into a puddle of water in the street during these 3 days of darkness, they would not see their own face, but an absolute emptiness that drains the life force of the observer. In these 4 nations, the water outside will become a portal. The shadows that wander the cities in search of a spark of light will use these black mirrors to anchor themselves in our physical reality. This is why the "stay indoors" warning isn't just about the cold or the darkness, but about the reflection trap. In places like Spain and Mexico, where central plazas have historic fountains, these spots will become centers of such dense energy that the air around them will become unbreathable. In the United States, large water infrastructures will become dead zones of spiritual communication. Street water will no longer be H2O, it will be an alchemical substance charged with the impurity of a world being cleansed by invisible fire. Even inside your home, if you have mirrors near your water sources, you must cover them. The combination of a physical mirror and unsealed water creates a resonance that can break down your aluminum insulation. In my spiritual guide to final preparation, which you can download from the first pinned comment, I explain the dark cloth ritual. How to cover every reflective surface in your home so that your sanctuary is invisible to the eyes of whatever lurks in the black mirrors outside. We are entering the final stretch of this urgent announcement. In the next part, we will reveal the phenomenon of diamond water. And then I will show you how, at dawn on the fourth day, the water you managed to seal and protect will have become the most powerful medicine humanity has ever known, capable of healing diseases we now consider incurable. But first, you must know what to do if your water seal is accidentally broken during the spiritual storm. If you have followed this protocol rigorously, if you maintained the salt cross seal and the aluminum insulation for the 72 hours of testing in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, or the United States, you will witness a physical miracle at dawn on the fourth day. Upon removing the covering from your containers, you will notice that the water no longer has the mercury-like sheen or the bitter taste of purification. What you will find is diamond water. This liquid will have undergone a complete molecular restructuring under the pressure of sacred darkness. You will see that the water has a supernatural clarity, almost as if it emits its own light from its depths. This is not just water to quench your thirst. It is the medicine of the remnant. Upon drinking it, you will feel immediate vitality, a mental clarity you have never experienced, and a peace that surpasses all understanding. Ancient texts suggest that this water, purified by faith amidst chaos, has the power to regenerate tissues and cleanse the body of toxins accumulated over years of industrial food and technological stress. However, there is an emergency protocol you should know. What happens if, during the second night, the seal on your water container breaks? If you heard the song of the water and, driven by fear, touched the container or the aluminum tore, the water will have been contaminated by the frequency of the shadow. In that case, under no circumstances should you drink it or use it for washing. That water must be discarded outside the house as soon as the sun rises on the fourth day, asking for forgiveness and protection. To prevent this from happening, in my final preparation spiritual guide, available in the first pinned comment, I've included the Midnight Reinforcement Seal. It's a last-minute instruction for those who feel their faith wavering when the external din becomes unbearable. Don't let 2 days' effort go to waste at the last moment. Ensure your water supply becomes your medicine, not your weakness. But the mystery of survival doesn't end with water. While the liquid is transforming inside your home, something else is happening in the air of these 4 nations, something that has to do with the seal of breath. In the next part, we'll reveal why the air you breathe during the third night will be the ultimate test for your spiritual lungs, and how a simple cloth with cleansing oil can be the difference between life and passing away. You have protected your door with the sacred plant and sealed your water with the salt cross. But as you reach the third night, you will face the final challenge: the air you breathe. In Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, the atmosphere during the last 24 hours of darkness will undergo a process of rarefaction. It's not a lack of oxygen. It's a static charge so powerful that the air will feel heavy, almost solid, laden with the particles of everything being burned and purified in the outside world. It is the time of the sacred breath. You should know that, just as water absorbs frequencies, your lungs are the bellows that connect your soul to the physical world. On the third night, the air in the streets will be saturated with shadow dust, a vibrational residue that, if inhaled without protection, causes a tightness in the chest and anguish that no human medicine can soothe. That is why the final protocol includes the breath seal. You will need a cloth of pure linen or cotton, moistened with a mixture of olive oil and 3 drops of cleansing essence, such as lavender or frankincense, and place it over your nose and mouth during the times of greatest external noise. This cloth is not a simple filter, it is a breath altar. As air passes through this consecrated seal, particles of darkness cannot penetrate your inner temple. In the United States, where the air is more saturated with artificial signals, you will feel the cloth warm up. In Mexico and Colombia, you will notice an earthy scent, indicating that the earth is being healed. Do not remove the seal until the first ray of the new sun touches the ground on the fourth day. Your breathing should be slow and conscious, repeating the divine name with each inhalation to maintain your frequency above the chaos. Many will fail at this point because they will be tempted to smell the change in the atmosphere. Don't do it. The aroma of external purification is sweet but deceptive, designed to lure the unwary to the windows. In my spiritual guide to final preparation, available in the first pinned comment, I detail the exact proportions of the breath anointing and how to prepare your lungs days beforehand through sacred breathing exercises so that your body can withstand the pressure of the third night. We are one step away from the conclusion. In the next part, we will reveal the mystery of the fire that doesn't burn, and why the only lights that will remain lit in these 4 nations will be those blessed by faith. Prepare yourself, because what you will see in your living room as the world outside disappears will be the ultimate proof that you are not alone. You will reach the climax of the third night, and as the air grows thick and the water sings behind its salt seal, you will face the deepest darkness the human eye has ever seen. At that moment, you will discover that the physics of the old world has been suspended. In Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, battery-powered flashlights will fail, telephones won't turn on, and even the most modern lighter will be useless. It is here that the mystery of the fire that doesn't burn manifests. Only pure beeswax candles, preferably blessed or consecrated with the intention of faith, will be able to stay lit. You will see that the flame of these candles does not behave normally. It will not flicker with drafts and will emit a bluish-white light that illuminates the corners of your home in a way that no electric lamp ever could. This light not only allows you to see, but it also creates a circle of exclusion. Shadows that try to seep through the cracks in your windows or under your door will retreat before this luminous frequency, because it is a light born from the connection between your soul and the Creator. You'll notice something amazing. Even if the candle burns for hours, the wax won't seem to burn at the usual rate. It's time collapsing in on itself. However, there's a vital warning. If you allow your heart to fill with hatred or extreme fear, the flame will turn red and begin to go out. The candle is the thermometer of your spiritual state. That's why the third night protocol requires continuous prayer. In my final preparation spiritual guide, which you can download from the first pinned comment, I've included the Psalm of Eternal Fire, the exact prayer that keeps your home's vibration high enough so that these sacred lights don't go out. In the United States and Spain, this phenomenon will be the only sign that life continues in the cities that once glowed with neon lights. In Mexico and Colombia, the homes of the remaining people will resemble small stars scattered across the mountains and valleys. This light will guide the guardian angels to your refuge when the final roar begins. You are about to witness the victory of light over darkness. But first, we must speak of the great roar, the sound that will mark the end of the 3 days and the opening of the new heaven. At the end of the third night, just when you think your strength is about to give out, the absolute silence of Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States will be shattered by the most awe-inspiring phenomenon of the entire purification, the great roar. It will not be ordinary thunder nor the sound of a human explosion. It will be a frequency that seems to come from all directions at once, as if the sky itself were an immense sheet of glass breaking under the weight of divine glory. At this moment you will feel the ground vibrate beneath your feet, but do not fear. This sound is the sign that the veil separating the material world from the spiritual has finally been destroyed. It is the voice of the earth answering the call of its creator. In the United States, skyscrapers will resonate like giant bells. In Mexico and Colombia, the mountains will seem to roar with a deep echo, and in Spain, the air will carry the sound of 1,000 invisible trumpets. If your home is protected by the sacred plant and your diamond water reserves are sealed, this vibration will not harm you. On the contrary, it will feel as if it is shaking the last trace of fear accumulated over years from your soul. It is crucial that during the great roar, you do not run to the windows. Curiosity is the last snare the darkness will try to use to ensnare you. The glare that follows the roar will be so intense that unprepared eyes could suffer permanent damage. You must remain in your place of prayer with your sacred breath cloth on, and close your eyes, knowing that the roar is the starting bell of the Great Tribulation. In my final preparation spiritual guide, available in the first pinned comment, I explain the 444 frequency code, the tone you should hum during this roar to attune your heart to the new earth being born. This sound marks the end of linear time. When the roar ceases, you will notice that the weight of the air has vanished. Your sealed water will shine with utter purity, and your plant behind the door will have fulfilled its purpose as a shield. But what you will see when you open your eyes is something no television camera could ever capture. You are about to witness the awakening. After the great roar that will shake the foundations of Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, you will realize that physical reality has ceased to be a barrier to your soul. In this new dawn, the dense static of the technological world that once blocked your connection to the divine will have been completely swept away. It is here that you will experience the awakening of gifts, an activation of latent spiritual capacities that will allow you to understand that true communication does not depend on satellites or fiber optic cables, but on the pure frequency of the heart. You will notice with amazement that you no longer need a device to know how your loved ones are doing in other parts of the world. A simple prayer charged with the pure intention you cultivated during the lockdown with your sacred plant and diamond water will bring you the certainty of their well-being, like an echo of peace in your own consciousness. This new form of connection, which we call the voice of the remnant, will allow the chosen ones in these 4 nations to begin acting as a single spiritual body, coordinating reconstruction efforts without words, moved solely by divine will. You will discover gifts of healing, comfort, and above all, the ability to see the true light in others, something impossible in the age of media distraction and constant judgment. Your plant behind the door, though now just a withered memory, was the anchor that allowed your nervous system to recalibrate for this new frequency of existence. However, this awakening requires guidance so as not to get lost in the mirages of the old rational mind, which will try to find logical explanations where there are only miracles. In my spiritual guide to final preparation, available in the first pinned comment, I have dedicated an entire chapter to spiritual hygiene in the new world, where I teach you how to stabilize these new insights so that your leadership in this new era will always reflect eternal truth. Don't let this awakening take you by surprise. Prepare yourself to be the beacon others will need. You are leaving behind the information age to enter the age of total revelation. Prepare yourself, because in part 13 we will discuss the mystery of the new sun and how the skies over these 4 nations will reveal the color of divine victory after the 3 days of darkness. At dawn, on the 4th day in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, you will look up and understand that the universe itself has been transfigured. The sun you will see rise on the horizon will not be the punishing, scorching star you knew. It will be the new sun of justice. Its light will have a soft, golden hue, a clarity that does not hurt the eyes, but seems to penetrate your skin, to heal every cell and every painful memory of the old age. You will notice with amazement that the shadows are no longer so dark, and that the skies over these four nations have acquired a crystalline transparency, allowing you to perceive the immensity of the cosmos as if the veil between heaven and earth had dissolved forever. In this new dawn, you will experience what the ancients called the end of linear time, the agonizing rush, the stress about the future, and the weight of the past that once dominated your life in the technological age will have vanished after the great silence of 3 days. You will find yourself living in an eternal present where every second is charged with profound meaning and every action is a form of constant prayer. Your houseplant and your diamond water, which absorbed the burden of the old time to protect you, will have made room for life to flourish at a miraculous speed, covering the scars of cities with vegetation that seems to vibrate with the very light of the new sun. This shift in the perception of time and light can be overwhelming for the rational mind, still trying to process what has happened. Many will feel an initial disorientation, as if walking in a lucid dream. Therefore, in my spiritual guide to final preparation, available in the first pinned comment, I have included a vital section on adapting to the new time, where I teach you how to synchronize your inner rhythm with the new cycles of divine light. This guide is essential so that you can navigate this transition with joy rather than confusion, understanding that you have been rescued to live in true freedom. You are witnessing the renewal of all things. Prepare yourself, for in part 14 we will reveal the encounter with the guardians and how your eyes, purified by prayer and the sacred sealing, will finally be able to see those who have always been by your side in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States. Having withstood the great test of the 3 days in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States, and after witnessing how the light of the new sun transmutes the Earth's atmosphere, you will experience the greatest gift bestowed upon the faithful remnant, the manifestation of the guardians. Your eyes, cleansed of the blindfold of materialism and technological distraction during the sacred confinement, will finally be able to perceive what was always there, but which the noise of the world obscured. As you leave your home, you will notice presences of indescribable beauty and authority guarding the corners of your street and the thresholds of the houses that, like yours, maintained the seal of the diamond plant and water. You will understand in that instant that you were never alone. While you prayed in the dim light before your vessel sealed with the salt cross, celestial legions waged a battle for every inch of your refuge. This protection, once a matter of blind faith, will become visible and tangible. In these 4 nations marked by the warning, guardian angels will appear not to be worshipped, but to guide you in the first steps of humanity's spiritual reconstruction. You will feel absolute peace as you realize that the fear of loneliness is dead forever. Your plant, now lying withered behind the door like a silent witness, served as the physical anchor that allowed these beings of light to seal your home against the shadows that tried to mimic the voices of your loved ones. This vision of the invisible is the reward for those who did not doubt. You will see that every human being who survived the test now has a subtle glow around their body, a frequency indicating that their spiritual DNA has been activated. However, this encounter requires profound humility and a protocol of conduct. Seeing the guardians face to face can be an overwhelming experience if you are not properly centered. Therefore, in my spiritual guide for final preparation, available in the first pinned comment, I have included the chapter on the protocol of celestial communion, where I teach you how to interact with these divine intelligences and how to receive their direct instructions for organizing your community in this new era. Do not let awe paralyze you. Acquire the guide to be ready to work side by side with the kingdom of heaven. In the United States and Spain, the guardians will appear as pillars of order in the midst of cities that must be redesigned according to the law of love. In Mexico and Colombia, they will manifest as protectors of nature, helping the earth heal its centuries-old wounds in just a few days. The union between heaven and earth has been completed, and you are the eyewitness to this new Genesis. We are just one step away from the closing of this urgent message. Prepare yourself, because in part 15, the final conclusion of this warning, I will give you the remnant's blessing and the final call to secure your place in the network of light. Before December 31st, silences all communications from the old world. We have reached the threshold of time, the exact point where the warning transforms into destiny. If you have followed this message this far, it has not been by chance or fleeting curiosity. It has been because your name has been whispered by divine grace to be part of the remnant that will sustain the light in Mexico, Colombia, Spain, and the United States. You already know the secret of water, you have understood the mystery of the plant behind the door, and you have envisioned the dawn of a world where fear no longer has power over you. Now, as the clock of the old world inexorably ticks toward midnight tomorrow, one final decision rests in your hands: to go from being a spectator to being the guardian of your own home. Don't let this video become just an 11-minute memory in your past. Turn this knowledge into an impenetrable shield for your family. As I've mentioned throughout this journey, every detail of the Salt Cross ritual, every sealing prayer for the water, and every instruction for consecrating your sacred plant has been lovingly and urgently poured into my final preparation spiritual guide. I've left the link in the first pinned comment of this video. Secure your access today, because when the networks collapse and silence grips the nations, all you'll have is your faith and the guidance you chose to follow today. Before I say goodbye, I want us to perform one last act of spiritual union. Leave an amen in the comments and write the name of your city. By doing so, you are activating a network of light with other brothers and sisters who, like you, are preparing for awakening. Share this video with the people you love in these 4 countries. You could be the messenger who saves their peace of mind in the coming hours. Remember, tomorrow, December 31st, stay indoors. Seal your water, bless your door, and keep your lamp burning. Do not fear the noise, for it is only the sound of chains breaking. May the peace of the righteous descend upon your home, and may the light of truth guide you through the darkness to the new dawn. Infinite blessings upon Mexico, Colombia, Spain, the United States, and upon you, valiant one of the remnant. Amen.